One Piece chapter 1164 is here, and it was an excellent chapter. A surprising chapter. I went in really nervous, but I will explain why I thought it was great despite my trepidations. Okay, so last chapter, all these incredible characters that we know how powerful they are because we've been through the story with them, all teamed up and hit Imu and thought that they had won. And this chapter opens up with the realization, each of them standing around saying, wait, did what we do actually do nothing? Did our efforts not take down who we thought it did? The dialogue between Imu, who by the way, on the first page, in this bottom panel, Imu is still severed. That's a great detail. Imu is still cut to pieces. We have 4 distinct parts showing in this panel where rocks had sliced through him. And I think it was rocks that had sliced through him in the last chapter. And he's still, as this severed creature, is holding rocks up, having stabbed through him and still taunting him. Still, like, to me, that shows a lot of Imu's power. He's not huffing, he's not puffing, he's not struggling. He's still taunting the one that he's holding up as he has been sliced into bits. But even better is Rocks, having 2 puncture wounds straight through his body, currently in the process of being transformed. What I would consider it to be, or how I would describe it, is having his will taken from him, pulled out of his very being, and so that he turns into something new. Obviously, Rocks is still Rocks. We see that later on in the chapter, but at least his will to continue to push in opposition to Imu is dampened or depleted. Anyway, in the midst of whatever it is that's going on in him to cause him to be transformed as well as to be weakened physically in, being stabbed through, he still has the power to fight back. He's not just turned immediately like what we've seen countless times before this. I can count, actually. It's 2. Unlike what we've seen on Elbaf and earlier in God Valley, where people are just transformed and then immediately start on the opposite side. Instead, for Rocks, we see him pushing back and taunting in return. Imu says, he teases him, oh, you're so persistent. And Rock says, don't downplay the power of humanity, monster. Still believing that there is fight left and that the battle's not over, no matter how powerful this creature, no matter how powerful this monster is. But then he turns to taunt Imu about the things that he knows are a weak point for Imu's belief in what the world order truly should be. He says, Davy Jones was once the king of the world, declaring something that he knows Imu does not want to have been true. Silence, he was never king, not for an instant. The grievance between Mu and Davy has nothing to do with thee. Yet you called him Davy earlier. You might have forgotten. You can see right through that he is carrying the will of Davy Jones. You can see that he is a part of the Davy clan. But clearly he doesn't want to be reminded of this piece of history that Rox has just revealed. Is it that Davy Jones was the king of the ancient kingdom that was destroyed, and clearly there was a promise made, I assume a promise that the Davy clan would defeat Imu and take the world back from his control, which is why Imu wants to eradicate the world of this bloodline, which is why he wants to hunt them all down and completely eliminate them so that the promise has no hope of being true. And vindictive as can be, not only does he want them gone, but he wants them, he wants them to be the hands of their own demise, turning the Davy clan to go and hunt down Rocks, and then turning Rocks to go and hunt down his wife and child. It's particularly sick in a flashback full of a lot of sickness. Continues to tease him, why are you so panicked over something as trivial as the Davy name? It's kept you terrified for years, hasn't it? I'm sorry I'm just reading all the dialogue back to you, but this back and forth exchange is incredible, especially knowing the positioning that they're in. Rocks hanging in the air. incredibly high up, having been stabbed through twice and currently in the middle of transformation, delivering these lines, taunting back the one that currently has him captured and who is going to turn him on his own people. And he already knows that he's going to be turned on his own people, I'm sure. He just watched it happen to the rest of the Davies just a little bit ago. But he doesn't beg for mercy. He doesn't try to fight his way out. Instead, he uses that leverage to get under Emu's skin. Instead, he uses that leverage to remind Emu of the threat that they actually are. The thought that the Davies' will might be passed down and one day come for you to fulfill the promise. What promise? Is it just as simple as we will be the ones to defeat you? You will not prevail forever? Our line will be the one to defeat yours? Is it as simple as that, or is there more to it? I don't know, but I'm very excited about it. It opens up the world even a little bit more, while also being an incredible character moment for a character that I have loved greatly in this flashback, a character that has been so fascinating to follow and to see what his motivations are and what choices he makes and what he stands by. And then to have him, we know he has to be defeated here. We know that he will die on God Valley. But even in the midst of that, we have the world opened up, we have lore delivered to us, and we have him not taking anything lying down, but using his last breaths to taunt Emu about the fear that his people have struck in Emu's heart. You may defeat me today, but my line is still going to be the one to defeat you, and you know it, and you're scared. What's more frightening to you, Davy D. Jones or Joy Boy? I love that Oda draws this parallel back to these two figures here as well, because I don't know, I just feel like I'm rethinking Blackbeard and Luffy and their relationship all over again. You know, these two characters that when Blackbeard was introduced, they had such similar personalities, these two characters that when Blackbeard was first introduced, they were paralleled so strongly, but then Blackbeard also stood next to him stood in front of him, sat in front of him and told him a man's dream will never die. This character that comes into scenes and causes absolute chaos, just like Luffy does, but also has such respect for a dream, much like Luffy does. It's crazy to think that so long ago, the bearer of the Davy clan's will and the bearer of Joy Boy's will, and we knew neither at the time, stood face to face and were paralleled so strongly together. And then Oda just kind of separated them and let them meet a little bit here and there, but really we haven't seen them together very much. He hasn't continued those parallels extremely strongly up to this point. But also that Blackbeard was this curmudgeon-y pirate that we were endeared to very quickly, but also it just seemed like he would have a normal pirate dream, but actually who we were interacting with was royalty, and potentially royalty of the highest kind, and potentially the will that he is talking about, the dream that he's talking about, is to carry on that promise, to complete that promise, which may actually align with what Luffy's goals are too. Not that Luffy's goal is to directly take down Emu, but you know what I mean. Eventually his path is going to lead here, and now it looks like Blackbeard's path potentially is going to be leading here as well, which of course we always knew that Luffy and Blackbeard had to come back together at some point, but this is changing everything that I thought that was going to look like. And it also makes me go back to all of these old scenes and think about them again afresh. It opens up lore of who Blackbeard is, what his lineage is, but it also brings together a lot of the themes and a lot of the plans that Oda has had for these characters, and the meaning behind their parallels, and the meaning behind them chasing after their dreams, and what that's actually going to look like at the end of the story. Also, when Emu says that he has decided that he wants the giants to be his servants, and Rocks, after all the history that he has with Harold, after everything that's happened up to this point, he still is saying they only want peace, leave them alone. Emu says, now stop wasting time and bring an end to the dream of Davy. I really do think that Blackbeard, when he was talking about dreams, he was referring to the dream of Davy that he carries with him right now. But also this line from Big Mom really struck me. Are you turning on your own people, as she raises up her sword? And I don't know, I'm curious if we're going to see any post-battle emotional reeling from Big Mom and Kaido. If they think that Kaido truly did betray them, even though they were obtained, they joined Rox's crew through the Davy Back fights, they were still loyal to him to some degree. There was still some brotherhood there to an extent. And so if they truly believe that their captain turned on them and for no reason, I mean, obviously something wonky is happening here, but if they don't understand that the guy who isn't supposed to exist and who no one knows existed sprouted out from another guy and then turned our captain evil, like if they can't put all those pieces together, which would be pretty reasonable, and they actually think that Rox betrayed them here, I wonder if that's why Kaido believes that a pirate will always betray his own, or will always betray you, however that went, and why Big Mom only trusts her family to be her crew. If this is a big part of what turned them in the directions that they ultimately went in. I mean, even as they're fighting him, or rather as he's fighting them, you can see that there's a loyalty there in them that they don't really know what to do with what's happening here. Lin asked that question, and then Kaido beat her, and she went flying. And then Whitebeard stepped up, didn't even actually hit him back, just shielded him. And that panel, oh my goodness, of Rox cutting down on Whitebeard and Whitebeard bringing his arm up. Oh, it's such a good panel. And then just on the impact of their fight, I'm pretty sure no one struck ground here. It certainly doesn't look like it. I'm pretty sure it's just the impact of what happened here. The power emanating from what happened between these two brought the mountain down. Half of God Valley fell into the water just from this one panel. It's a really good panel. Anyway, I've been dying to get to this part of the chapter. In the midst of an excellent chapter, the best part is easily Kuma. Again, always a show stealer. As he's going through and saving all these people and telling them, please don't thank me, we don't have time, I just need to get as many people off of this island as possible. And here Eva is saying, you have to stop, but Kuma cannot stop. He can't leave knowing that there are innocents still in danger. And so he goes running after, if I'm reading this correctly, he goes running after Blackbeard and Eris, I think is Blackbeard's mom's name. And this scene just, it gutted me. Seeing her running, tears in her eyes. She says, "You lost then. I'm sorry, dear. You had to face off in order to save us. But it was too early, wasn't it?" What do you mean too early, first of all? One of my patrons pointed out that sounds like Roger being too early for the One Piece. But what does that mean? What does that imply? Anyway, we know how much Rox loved his wife and child. We know how significant these two were in his life and how badly he wanted to get them off of God Valley. Anything else could happen. Even the rest of the Davy clan could be killed here. He just needed these two to be safe. And then Imu turns him on these two. We see him stalking through the woods, whole face dark, chasing after them to be the hand that kills them. She's coming up with any plan she can. She's going to bring the baby into the water and try to swim to shore, anything she can come up with to keep them alive. And then Kuma jumps out in front of the monster. Cannonballs on one side, a raised sword on the other, and Kuma dives right in between it all. Send them away. And then looks around, realizes that he's in the middle of it all too, and sends himself away. Kuma was already one of the best characters in the entire story, with one of the best flashbacks in the entire story, and now his incredible character and his incredible flashback is all tangled together with this incredible character Rox, this incredible flashback of God Valley. Already, like, there's already so much here, but also in this chapter we see that Kuma was not, in this chapter we see the will of Davy and the will of Joy Boy is clearly connected. And is clearly prophesied to be what ultimately is against Imu in the end. But then we have Kuma, who we already know saved the will of Joy Boy back in Sabati Archipelago. And now here he is saving the will carrier of Davy. All just because he has a good heart. He doesn't know any of these prophecies. He doesn't know any of these promises. He doesn't know any of these people. He just wants to save people. He just doesn't want this horrible thing that he's seeing all around him. He just wants to do everything he can to stop it. And his selfless acts are, in effect, saving the world. Not just all the people that he saved here, which would have been more than enough for him, but ultimately his selfless acts are what will save everyone from the reign of Emu come the end of the story. And currently, I'm pretty sure he's still bleeding out on a ship and everyone else is having a vacation on Elbaf, and I just need the current day story to come back to Emu and tell me that he's doing okay. Because last I checked, he super duper wasn't, and I believe that Chopper put some bandages on him before he went skipping off into Elbaf. But we haven't checked in on him in a really long time, and I would just like to. I'd like to know that he's doing fine. I'd like for Ginny to go and give him a hug instead of just leaving him alone on this ship. Kuma is the MVP of this chapter and of maybe the story. I just really need to know that he's good in current day. I mean, I know he is because Oda's all but assured me that he is, but he feels neglected to me in the current day story, so I'd really like to address that. I know we won't, because when we get back to current day story, we've got a big fight to have. But I just feel like he's been through enough. Maybe we could make sure that he's good. It does seem like Dragon might get up from here and see Eva and Ginny have been left behind, and he might then say, okay, I couldn't save the baby, that baby, I couldn't save that baby, I'm a failure, but these two kids I could save. You know, I think Dragon might sweep them under his wing, and that might be why they then become loyal to him, and that's one thing that he was able to do on God Valley. Oh, so much to talk about in this chapter. Okay, so there are people that do acknowledge, why does Rox look like that? These are a bunch of soldiers, potentially his crew, might be his crew that he's wiping out, and they do actually say, why does he look like that? Rox may not have successfully killed his wife and child, which I'm so glad didn't happen, but he does end up wiping out his crew. It will take his name is Garp, and Roger to team up against him to finish him off, but he did still slaughter his crew, or a large number of them. Obviously, we know some get away. So both Garp and Roger square up against Rox, seeing, look what a mess you are, and Roger saying, I'm not going to let you keep going. You've already wiped out so many men, so many pirates, fellow pirates. I'm not going to let you touch mine. And so they each stand up against him, stand opposed to him. And it looks like they would have fought him and potentially even killed him without him having said anything. Maybe I'm wrong, but they definitely are squaring up to stop him. They're going to be the opposition to this rampaging monster. They don't understand what happened to him. Clearly something has changed. Clearly something is wrong here, and they need to stop it, lest he just continue on and do more damage. I feel so silly because this whole chapter, as far as, you know, on paper, the Rock side of things, on paper, was all signposted. We knew the Domi Reversi was going to happen. Then when it was confirmed that it happened, a lot of people were talking, at least in my comment section, were talking about he's probably going to ask them to kill him so that he doesn't kill his wife and child. So it's not like anything as far as, you know, the Rocks, what happens with Rocks, and how his change manifests, what it looks like, other than his awesome dialogue at the beginning of the chapter. The beats, you know, aren't incredibly surprising, but like the emotions still hit me so hard, where when his face, when he starts crying, when his face turns down and we see the tears pouring out of his orb-like eyes, and he's using the voice of all things to beg them, help me. Just kill me. Oh, it gets me emotional even now, because we know who he is. We know who he's been up to this point, and we know that while his will maybe has been taken away, who he is still there. And this, what he's being forced to do, what he just almost did, this is not something that he would ever have wanted. It's something that he wants to be freed from. And I don't know, that just kind of breaks my heart. It's like, it's not even the most surprising plot beat, but it still really struck me. So next chapter, we may watch it all happen. I think we only have a couple chapters left of God Valley. It's been such an incredible flashback. I'm sad that it's almost over. I really don't want to go back to the story proper, other than to check on Kuma. I have loved this flashback. I mean, it's been emotional, it's been devastating, it's been horrible, but it's been so good. So I mentioned last week that I was really unhappy with this plot point, even though it was signposted, it was obvious that it was going in this direction. Of course, he's going to be Domi reversing. I mean, I lived on Cope, and I kept saying, maybe we won't do it. What if we didn't? Like, what if we didn't, even though it was clear that it was going in that direction? Because I just didn't want it. It's not a plot point that I like, and then it happened, and I'm like, okay, I don't like it. But I also promised to read what came next in good faith. This chapter, while on paper, if I had just read the plot beats, I might have said, I don't want it. But in execution, and this is what I was holding out for. I know that Oda can take a plot line or a plot device that I don't like, and he can still make me not like it, like Amnesia. Or he can take it and do something really great with it. And I think he did with this chapter, with having Rox hang on to really taunt him, with the emotions that he brought to it, with how much he opened up the world in this chapter, all the different set pieces that were around what happened with Rox, seeing Kuma do so much more, having a focus on all these other characters and what they were going through, recontextualizing stuff from so long ago that makes me think about it all really differently. And even though I'm still not a fan of the Domi Reversi, just as a general rule, I'm not looking forward to going back to present day and watching the Domi Reversi be used in other places, and probably Luffy is the only one that can turn it back because it's light versus darkness. There's still a lot of things that I'm still not excited about for this particular plot beat on paper, but I still continue to say I'm not going to write it off. I'm going to wait and see what Oda does with it, because he clearly can do great things, even with things that on paper don't sound exciting to me. And this was a great chapter. So I can't wait for next week. Please let me know what you thought about this chapter. Did you like it? Did you not? What did you like about it or didn't? I'll see you again soon. Bye.